It's Wednesday, May 6th. I'm Rem.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we review Naoki Urasawa's Monster.
Let's do this.
So, I think we've mentioned it a couple times, but we haven't actually done a big deal about it. But just in case, we're going to be at Anime Boston for the first time ever this year.
Oh my gosh.
And
Boston. We got all these people we know in Boston, but it's like we've never gone to see them because we never go to Boston.
I know. I've never even been to Boston.
I've been to Boston like 100 times, in the first 18 years of my life, and 0 times in the past 9 years of my life.
This is going to be interesting, though, because one, it's a new anime con, and even if you're
Well,
jaded,
it's not new, but it's new to us.
It's new to us, but going to a con you've never been to before, even if you've been to a million anime cons and you're jaded, there's something about the new con. There's
Well, I
new
mean, yeah,
stuff.
it's like there's a lot of, stuff that you haven't seen before, hopefully. And at the very least, you're learning a new building, learn new restaurants.
Yeah, hang out in Boston.
Yeah.
Plus,
Friends that we don't see too often.
yeah, and we're doing a whole bunch of panels at Anime Boston.
Oh, man.
Now, if you've seen us at all of the other cons that we go to, we're doing a lot of the same name panels, but we've upped the ante. So if you think you saw Anime You Should See, you should probably see Anime You Should See at Anime Boston.
Uh-oh.
We've upped it. We put it over 9,000 or so.
Oh, shit.
And out of the blue, we're also going to do Beyond Dungeons and Dragons again.
Okay.
So
I don't mind doing a repeat panel as long as it's not a repeat at the same convention.
Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. What if it's a con that's so big and the room just wasn't big enough and a lot
I'd
of
have
people
to have
wanna
like
see
some
it?
sort of guarantee that there's no one seeing it twice.
Besides-
Especially if someone who hasn't seen it wants to see it.
Well, maybe we'll have to do something like that for PAX. At the beginning, if anyone is in the room who's already seen the panel, we'll kick them out. I think that's the only way to go about it.
All right.
Of course, we might have a bigger room for that. But Anime Boston, Memorial Day weekend, May 22nd to 24th at the Heinz Convention Center and Sheraton Boston Hotel in Boston. Anime Boston?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there are many other Bostons.
No.
If you end up at another Boston, I'm sorry, but we're not going to do a panel there.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, well.
I think it'll be fun. We're not doing that many panels. We're doing enough to where we'll, have a presence at the con and all that stuff, but we'll actually be able to hang out. So if you tried to talk to us at Otakon and we blew you off and disappeared, we can actually talk to you at Anime Boston. This will be a big change for us.
All right, so if people did not know, last Saturday was Free Comic Book Day, and for every year of Geek Nights, we've always done a Free Comic Book Day episode every time. I don't know if we're gonna do one this year. This will be your replacement for a Free Comic Book Day episode. First of all right, a lot of the comics on Free Comic Book Day are more of the same. For example, every year there is a free Bongo Comics for All that is basically the Simpsons, Futurama, Matt Groening property comic, right? And it's the same quality stuff every year. It's no different. And it's sort of, there are very few. I mean, there's an Atomic Robo comic this year. There was one last year. There's an Owly this year. There was an Owly last year. And there's so few that are new from year to year that there's not much use in, going over them again.
So what about the new ones? I'm sure they're all amazing.
Well, the thing is, right, I went down to the Dragon's Den, and the Dragon's Den, for what problems the store may have, is awesome on Free Comic Book Day because they allow you to take one of each, and they usually get some of each. So,
I feel, though, like every good comic shop will let you do that.
No, vast majority of comic shops are like, pick two.
Yeah, and
That's
hence
it.
I said every good comic shop.
Right. So the Dragon's Den lets you take one of each, which is why I always go there, so I can get one of each. And that's the only reason we're able to do these Free Comic Book Day episodes that cover all these comics, because I can go and get one of each for us. Now, I did go there, and I did get one of each and got a bunch.
Well, I actually haven't been to the Dragon's Den in,
There's no reason to go there.
almost a year.
There's nothing there for you. Now, what was awesome is I sort of always feel bad going in there every year and getting all these comics and not buying anything. But they had a huge sale simultaneously on comics. It was 40% off everything.
Really? Yeah. You know what this means to me? The cynic reading into this is
They're going to
that
get rid of comics?
they're giving up on comics because they're not profitable. They don't bring anyone into the store, and they've had the kind of weak selection in the back for a long time anyway.
It did look like they were sort of like the trade selection was mad weak. I don't know if they're buying any more trades there, but I think they might keep the single issue business going. Just
Maybe.
for the people who come in every week.
I feel like they make all their money off
because
of
they don't have any
Airsoft.
local comic shop competition.
Well, I mean, what other comic shops? There's that one
That's-
down here in
I don't know if that
Newburgh.
one's still open. That one was so shady.
That was like, I mean, I've been to Shady.
That was the stereotypical bad comic shop taken to the extreme.
I mean, that's the kind of place where the owner is surly and like, "Are you not buying anything?"
Yeah. So anyway,
They had the manga
apparently,
shelf.
yeah, the guy at the Dragon's Den, right? The guy I always see there. He said, yeah, we're always, we like to give one of each, but he's like, people came in here at 10 o'clock and I had he had two tables covered because he had every single free comic book day comic. He bought some of everything. Of course, he bought more of the Marvel and DC ones and less of the other ones, of course, right? But he got some of everything. And at 10 o'clock, people busted in and they like took one of everything. Like some lady took one of everything and he was like, "Are you going to read all those?" She's like, "No, but why not? They're all free, right?" So the thing was, I would have read them all. So as a result of that, I wasn't able to get many of the less popular, better ones. The only one I really wanted, I think there was like a Ninja Turtles 25th anniversary one. And there were some other good ones, but I didn't want them too badly. But anyway, so I don't think we're going to do a free comic book day episode this year, but that's the free comic book day news for you. What I do want to do is, I do the Scott's box off and on, mostly off, right?
I found a bunch of them when I was cleaning off the video on the tape recorder to take it to Costa Rica.
See, the question is, those are just sort of, they're sort of like one and done, right? Turn on the camera, I do it, and I turn the camera off, and they're not really edited. So it's like, should I edit them or should I just upload them
Edit.
the way they are? Anyway, so I want to discuss, see, because people don't seem to realize this, right? You order comics 2 months in advance, right? So you think, okay, if you order comics 2 months in advance, what month is the big order going to be in, right? You think, well, when do people buy the most comics? And you might think, well, maybe they buy them on the holidays. So the big order comes in December, November, October. October must be the big month, right? No, it's not October. Well, Free Comic Book Day is a big month in May, right? So maybe, April, March. March must be the big month. No, it's not March. The big month is May because in June, July is the San Diego Comic-Con.
There's a good chance. I'm pretty sure Yuko and Ananth are heading down there.
Wow. Okay. I'd like
Someday
to
we
go there
gotta
one
go
day,
there.
but it's just too much.
Well, you know what? I would.
Especially with limited vacations.
Well, I got plenty of vacation. I would if I weren't going to, both PAXs instead.
Right. Okay, so anyway, in honor of the big order month, I'm gonna tell you the goods I'm buying here, some of which is very notable. All right, ready? I'm gonna try to do it quickly and not dwell. The much delayed Gunsmith Cats Burst Volume 4. Uncle Scrooge statue number 2, which is Donald Duck.
So you went for it. You couldn't pass that up.
I have a job now.
So you're gonna have these big busts.
They're not busts,
Well,
they're
yeah,
full
they're full.
statue. If it was a bust, I wouldn't have bought it. I don't like busts. They're kind of stupid.
What if it was a bust of Scrooge McDuck?
No, it's no good.
A high quality bronze one.
You mean like a big one, like the kind that you can tilt the head back and push a button and then a door secret door opens?
I'm talking a proper and full bust of Scrooge McDuck.
This is a series of small statues in metal cases, so that's whatever. There's a new comic from Vertigo, and whenever they have a new comic, the first issue is always cheap. I think it's $1, and with my discount, it's 25 cents. Called Greek Street. So we'll see what that's about.
Greek Street.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look that up. You keep talking.
That's a new comic from Vertigo. That's coming out. Fables Volume 12. Spider-Man number 600, which is $5, but it's supposed to be like 100-something pages. So why the fuck not? Incredible Hulk 600. People said you're going to find out who the Red Hulk is. Whatever.
What about the Blue Hulk? The Orange Hulk?
No, there's a red one. It's been a story for a while. I got the first issue of the Red Hulk, and I thought it was stupid, so I didn't get any more. And it's pretty much just like, I only care who the Red Hulk is. The story is stupid.
Do you know what Greek Street is about?
What's it about?
All right. I'm stealing this from someone else who stole it from someone else. So I'm quoting someone, but I'm not even going to try to figure out who originally said this. It's nothing like anything you've ever read before, according to some guy.
Who are the artists and the writer?
Peter Milligan.
Okay.
I don't know who that is, to be honest.
No, me either.
Quote, Greek Street is a street in London that runs through Soho, and Soho is kind of like our red light district. It's all the lowlives and gangsters. This story is a reimagining and retelling of those fantastic and brutal and visceral Greek legends played out on these modern streets.
Oh, man.
I'm looking forward to this.
All right, anyway. We got Marvel 1985. Remember 1602? Well, this is sort of like 1985, right?
1602 was good, but it didn't really need to be Marvel.
No, not really. But, I mean, the Thor reveal was just awesome.
Yeah, but...
Spoiler! Oh, no. I mean, that Thor reveal is one of the best reveals ever, I'd say. Top 10, at least.
Primarily because it's Thor.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone else, there's no other superhero that could be revealed in any way that I would care about at all. But Thor...
It's
damn.
mainly that I didn't see it coming. Let's see. Annihilation Classic in trade paperback. This was released in hardcover before, and I was pissed. Now it's in trade. The Boys trade paperback number 4.
Nice.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 25th anniversary. This was what there was a free comic book day comic for, right? So fuck, I'll just buy it if they're good, right? Dick Tracy Volume 8. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Collected Book Volume 1. So if people don't realize this, it's common knowledge that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was originally a comic book by Eastman and Laird a long time ago. And that, the cartoon and what you know is nothing like the original comic book. And the original comic book has been hard to get, for normal people for a very long time.
Even now with the internet. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, watching the old cartoon and having the toys and everything. And we were all into Turtles. We were all playing the games. But there was kind of this underground legend among the kids that there was some previous Ninja Turtles that was all cool and dark.
When I was
and
in high
violent.
school, the Akira manga was like this legend. And now I have it all. So this is going to be sort of the same thing where yes, I know that Ninja Turtles was originally this awesome indie comic. Well, now normal people can finally get it in trade paperback. Cursed Pirate Girl number 3 of 3. Remember who told us to buy it? Dave Peterson told us to buy that. Atomic Robo, Shadow from Beyond Time 4 of 5. Surrogates Volume 2, Flesh and Bone.
I'm still waiting for a Surrogates movie.
20th Century Boys Volume 4. Pokemon Adventures Volume 2. Right? And there's one more thing I want to talk about a little bit more. It's called Wednesday Comics, right? Let me explain this to you. Wednesday Comics is coming from DC, right? Now, back in the day, way back in the day, you would get things like when you bought a newspaper, you would get a comics insert. Like the Spirit was like this section in the newspaper. That's what the Spirit was. It wasn't like a comic book on the shelf. The Spirit was this insert into the newspaper. It was big, like newspaper big, in full color. It was crazy. And that would just come in the newspaper. You didn't buy it on its own, right? So what DC is doing, it says here, let me read this little story here. I'm going to put a link to this in the show. At a time when many newspapers are cutting back or dying, cutting back in their comic sections, right? DC is trying to remind people of the fun and excitement of full Sunday-sized comic section.
Even at a time like this.
Even at a time like this. Except they're going to do it on Wednesday, because that's the day that new comic books are at the comic book store. That's why it's called Wednesday Comics as opposed to Sunday Comics. This is a 12-part series, so there's going to be 12 issues, right? It's going to be weekly, so that means 4 issues a month, so 3 months, right? July, August, September, right? So you pre-order in May, June, July to get all of them, right? So I'm buying all 4 of these, and you might say, wait, Scott, why are you buying these normal issues, right? What is wrong with you? Don't you wait for the trade? I would indeed wait for the trade. In fact, I considered waiting for the trade until I read this part that is next.
Great.
The 12-part series launching this summer that will be presented in a 14-inch by 20-inch broadsheet format and will have to be unfolded and open to be read.
Ooh.
Now, for, let's see, like $4 an issue, right? I mean, it's only, 16 pages an issue? It's not many pages, but 16 times 4, because you're folding it out into being 4 times the size, right? So what's that, like 64? Because 40 and then 24 is 64?
Wait, so all I need to do to get you to buy stuff is to make it bigger?
Well, I mean, it's more for your money, right? That's the whole point.
Is that all that matters?
Well, it has to also be good, right? Now, wait. All right, so if that alone doesn't sell you, allow me to read the creator list. Are you ready for the creators? Are you ready?
Nah, not at all.
All right. Let's see. Kyle Baker, Neil Gaiman, Allred, Azzarello, Paul Pope, Walt Simonson, Dave Bullock, Dave Gibbons, Ryan Sook, John Acrudi, Lee Bermejo, Joe Kubert, Ben Caldwell, Kurt Busiek. Basically all huge names.
See, this is interesting because I really feel like now is the time, especially, people are saying the economy may have hit the bottom and it might start recovering, and the industry, all the industries, every industry is in flux right now. Now is the time to hit the market and hit the ground running with something different.
Yeah, now is the time to hit not with just something different, but to go for quality as opposed to quantity, right? Because if people are spending less, right, they're not going to be looking, to get more, people are trying to get rid of stuff, right? They're selling their gold. They're selling stuff, giving stuff away on Craigslist. People want less stuff right now. They want to get rid of stuff and have more money, which means if they buy things, they're going to be looking for fewer quality things, not a bunch of cheap crap they don't need. Right?
Well, the smart people at least.
Yes. So now is the time to make, quality things that stand out from the crowd, things that are more interesting, not something that someone is looking at and compares it to the stuff they're selling on Craigslist and said, I'm not gonna buy that, I'm selling something just like that. So this is a good road to go down, and they got me to order 4 comics sight unseen for $4 each, given there's a major discount on them because I go to DCB service, but regardless, right? So this is something special here. You should look out. And, even if you don't pre-order, in July, go to the comic book store once a week on Wednesday and buy the copy of Wednesday Comics.
And watch out, it's coming.
Yeah, it's good. You probably won't be able to miss it. It'll look like a comic book, but it'll fold out. It'll stand out on the shelf.
The internet will be all a Twitter about it.
Yes, it's already a Twittering.
So, much more expected and at the same time sad news. If you missed it, CPM is actually gone. They're declaring full-on Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Yeah. That's the end.
It's kind of weird because it's like there's a lot of anime companies out there and other companies in various niche areas that they don't go out of business. They just sort of enter this holding pattern where, like, they're not bringing in big revenues, but they just don't spend anything. They just stop doing business. They just sort of sit there. And, the revenue, as long as the revenue isn't zero, the money sort of trickles in, And they just sort of let it sit. And they don't have to go bankrupt or anything. They just sort of stay still. And that's what CPM has been doing. They would go to conventions, sell all their extra DVDs on the cheap. They would, continue making some DVDs available to, Right Stuff or wherever, Amazon, who knows.
Well, they weren't active. I mean, they didn't pick up a title in over a year.
They just been in a holding pattern.
But I never, the anime industry is so opaque. There's no way to know if they actually had plans to come back or if this was just the long, slow burnout.
I don't think it was a slow burnout. I think they were just in a holding pattern.
But a holding pattern has to end with either the plane landing or the plane crashing.
It could just be a perpetual holding pattern.
No, it can't.
Why not?
The businesses don't really work that way. It wouldn't. If they weren't ever going to do anything, eventually.
I think they might have done something eventually, But
I wonder if
I think
actually.
The thing is, when you're in a holding pattern, if you're gonna make a move, you have to be 100% sure it's the right move. So you're gonna stay in that holding pattern as long as you can until you're sure that you're making the right move. Because if that move is the wrong move, you're crashing.
At the same time, I don't think there was any way for CPM to get themselves out of the situation they were in.
If they could have licensed one show and got it on TV or something, that would have.
There's no way they could do that because it's almost impossible to get anime on actual television. You can only get it on the kind of niche crap markets.
I think what they also could have done is they could have found some way to, they already had a bunch of licenses and they could have found, new ways to get money off of them. Like if they would have put their stuff on Crunchyroll, you get money from that. right?
Well, I mean,
people pay for
Scott,
Crunchyroll.
You
and then-
forget, what rights did they really have? The industry's so opaque, and you didn't always get absolute rights to a show when you license it from Japan.
Yeah, it's
You might have had the right to
we don't know what's
tapes
going
and
on.
DVDs, but not to digital distribution, or licenses might have expired secretly. There's no way
Yeah.
for us to know.
No, but CPM actually filed for actual bankruptcy. What is the difference between Chapter 7 and the others? Do we know? Do we care?
Chapter 7 means they're gone.
Completely gone?
Yeah, the other chapters mean that they'll come back possibly.
Okay, so what does it mean for the things that they owned?
Everything's liquidated, creditors get paid.
Okay.
Well, creditors that can get paid. As Anime News Network so helpfully points out, they have about $100,000 in assets and about $1.2 million in debts.
Wait, $100,000 in total assets?
Yeah,
So that means that
$126,282.
the licenses for those properties, including things like Utena, Grave of the Fireflies, Judge,
Actually,
Hayane Sidekick.
Before we go, I gotta point out.
They were 11.
The reason,
add up to less than $100,000.
The reason CPM was such a big deal is that they brought out a lot of the anime that was huge back in the day. Like, CPM was the shit.
Oh, they were definitely the shit. They were also had lots of shit.
But they also had all the good stuff. I mean, look at this list, the so-called prominent works noted on Anime News Network. This is just a fraction. Grave of the Fireflies, Utena, Patlabor, Lotus War, Slayers, Night of the Galactic Railroad, Project Echo, Dominion Tank Police, Descendants of Darkness, Demon City, Shinjuku, Urotsukidoji,
Keep
La
going.
Blue Girl.
Keep going.
I like how the list kind
Didn't
of...
they have They Were 11?
Probably. I don't
Let's
remember
get the
offhand.
freaking They Were 11 license. Jesus.
We may not be able to.
Someone's liquidating it.
We'll see.
It's less than $100,000.
Scott, again, we don't know if ICV2 reports that they only had those assets, then maybe the assets or the licenses weren't transferable.
No, because there's another news story that says ADV picked up some of them.
Yes, but not all of them. We don't know what's happening to all of them. Or
Hmm.
if the licenses were transferable, maybe they're licenses from Japan that expire in the near future.
Oh, they could.
Or not for redistribution. Or maybe they have the right to the anime, but not for the dub, but no one wants to make a new dub. Or...
Oh, I want the rights to They Were 11 because I could do some awesome shit with that.
Plus, Scott, quote, no specific value or an unknown value was assigned to the company's intellectual property rights and master tapes.
Oh, well, there you go.
So the answer to that is we have no idea.
Yeah, so the 100,000 does not include the intellectual property. That was the key part there that I did not know.
But to get a sense of this, I mean, CPM basically put up the Big Apple Anime Festival, which I realized how old I was when I realized that died almost a decade ago.
Yeah.
That ran from like 2000 to 2003, and then the Republicans killed it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if the Republicans killed one, and then they just never did any more after
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think the mistake of the Big Apple Anime Festival was not being in the Javits, and while the Javits sucks, that's obviously how to do it.
Yeah, plus, I mean, being in New York City in general.
Better a convention center that sucks than not a convention center.
If you're not a professional con, and you're going to be a big con. I mean, the BAF got, 7,000-8,000 people, and I think it peaked at like 11 or 12,000. But having that many people in New York City for a con, unless you were professionals, there is no way it is going to be a good con. And everyone I know who went to these generally didn't have a good time, and there wasn't much to do, and you kind of walked between all these buildings where nothing was going on.
Yep. That's what I heard back in the day.
CPM, gone. ADV, meanwhile, picking up everything they possibly can.
The ADVs, meanwhile, is they're also in a holding pattern. They're not doing too well, right? I mean, like, their manga all evacuated. Yen Press has Yotsuba. We're waiting for them to make a move on that. It's ADV still is apparently doing, anime stuff, but when was the last time they actually put anything out? Really, it's the only games left in town are pretty much Viz and Funimation. And I guess Tokyo Pop kinda is in the manga town.
But ADV is doing fine because you realize they got possibly the most important license, maybe the most dangerous license that ever has been available in the United States.
No more need be said.
I don't know. I feel like in the end, this consolidation is going to be good for the industry because it's really going to force the anime industry in the U.S. to trim the fat and kind
what did you read?
focus on good properties that will actually sell or in some way be marketable in the modern world with digital distribution and fan subs and Crunchyroll.
There is sort of one thing I've realized the other day, right? It's like, we always say to the anime companies, It's because there's too much crap, right? You license all this crap and you wonder why you're not making any money. If you only license the good stuff, you'll make money, right? Well, if you really think about it, right? We simultaneously complain that no one buys the good stuff, right? So, and it's true, right? The stuff that's really good, right? The stuff we love doesn't make the huge sales figures. Vertical with their awesome mangas, not so much sales. I mean, they were 11, not so right. The really good stuff doesn't get the big sales. And I think what it is, I think the people at the anime companies know what's good and what isn't, just like we know what's good and what isn't, right? But they know that what's good doesn't sell. So the thing is, imagine if I gave you a pile of anime. You took out all the good stuff, the stuff that you like, that you knew was awesome, right? And you said, this will never sell, and you put it aside. And you look at this pile of crap that's left over. You have to figure out which of that crap is going to sell and which isn't.
See, no, I don't think that's the way to look at it. I mean, look at the way the rest of the American media factory machine works in the U.S. I use the word America and U.S. in the same sentence. I'm very proud of that. Anyway, but it's not what will sell and what won't. It's what do we promote, therefore causing it to sell, and what do we don't. And I think the anime industry was always kind of niche, and I think they did a much better job marketing back in the day when they sold anime as, check out this ultra-violent crap from Japan. Oh, yeah. I feel like that got more attention than, they kind of, like there was the Anime Network, but it was this kind of on-demand, half-assed effort. And Cartoon Network has live action. Cartoon Network is straying so far from what it used to be that, Toonami doesn't even show anime practically.
Well, I think part of it was that original marketing. While all the marketing they've done is sort of bad in design-wise, right? That original marketing was like, you had these people who wanted something and it didn't really exist. And it's like, here is that awesome thing you've been looking for. Come and get it, right? Whereas the more recent marketing has been like, the kids already know that Naruto's out there. And you're like, hey, kids, Naruto. It's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, but all the mainstream, like the people who got into anime and became hardcore were punk kids, but they found anime by seeing it on TV. I mean, I wouldn't have gone searching for anime on the internet if I hadn't seen Vampire Hunter D on the TV first and gone, ooh.
Yep, wouldn't have gone to the anime club. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Plus, I don't know. It's really, I still really don't know what to do with the anime industry. And sadly, I just want to point out, neither does Japan. The big industry group, the Association of Japanese Animations, basically said that anime was, quote, a bubble several years ago that burst.
That's true.
So this is in Japan, remember, not just in America. The marketplace is on a falling curve due to declining birth rates and the recession.
So I guess even in Japan, they think that anime is for kids, and the fact that there's less kids is hurting anime sales.
Well, there's an interesting quote in this article near the end. An unnamed producer told them, quote, it's because fans realized that more and more of the releases are the same kinds of titles with the shoujo and mecha elements added just because they are said to sell.
Yeah, I mean, that's something. I mean, anime was originally awesome because you had like all these, interesting plots, or at least even if, now I see that many of them were, formulaic, but they were new formulas to someone who is not from Japan, at being, growing up in the United States and seeing Looney Tunes my whole life, right? Seeing, an anime was like, oh my God, it's something new. And that's why it was exciting, because it was new and different. And
plus, they were very much, they couldn't bring everything out, and it was difficult to get the licenses back then. They would pick and choose. Like, Fushigi Yugi is a pretty mediocre show, all things considered. And if a show like that came out now, people would just, ignore it. But it was super popular in the U.S., and I think the reason was they picked a show like that, Fushigi Yugi, and they decided, this is the show like that, what we are going to push. And it did really well as a result. And it became the biggest freaking show in the world for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just that it's in animation, it is definitely possible to make things that are new and different, even today. I mean, look at the awesome anime that does still come out. We just saw Skycrawlers,
yep,
right?
Or Eden of the East.
We see Satoshi Kon stuff.
Yeah,
and
Sword of the Samurai.
Miyazaki's still doing shit. We see some cool Tezuka remakes of the recent Phoenix series.
I still just feel like the main thing that needs to be done is you've got to just market anime differently and actually just go after.
But it's on the production side, Studio 4C, right? They need to, pretty much make a lot more of the different and interesting, animes and, stop doing so many moe shows and so many typical crap robot shows. You got to
But
go.
at the same time, it was like that back then, too. I mean, we'd watch The Most Dangerous Show, and there were like 100 other shows that were just like it.
Yeah, but that was because we didn't know that.
Yeah, it all
that
comes
was
down
new to us still.
Yeah, it all comes down to picking and choosing what you market. Because remember, there was an old saying that the TV networks pushed a lot. It's new to me.
Yeah, the thing is, nothing's new to us now.
Yes, but you
We
don't
need
market
more
us.
stuff that's new to us.
Anime doesn't need to market to people like us because whatever we like that's good, we'll just go out and get. And that's not even a question. What they need to do is take things like Cowboy Bebop or They Were 11 or Sword of the Samurai or whatever, find people who don't know that this sort of thing exists but would probably like it, and go after them. Because even if you take a formulaic show, I mean, Sword of the Samurai was pretty derivative, and just show it to people who don't know that that sort of thing exists.
Yeah. I think you need both directions. You need to have, because if you do that, right, if you just keep showing the same old formulas to new people, right, what's going to happen is those new people will eventually also, see that there's nothing new and different for them.
Yeah, but
you need
those
to
people
continue providing the new and different things constantly to
Scott, that's a silly argument because every media is like that. And every other media is fine. I think anime is only different because of the way it's treated by the American consumer thinks that cartoons by default are for kids. They don't get it and they ignore them. And the industry just kind of ignores it.
whatever.
I feel like it's just a matter of marketing. I think that's the only thing standing between a successful anime industry in the US and a failed one.
Anyway,
I don't think there's any other factor at this point.
it's good. We definitely agree that anime was a bubble a few years ago that has burst. There's no question about that one.
Well, it's interesting that Japan's having the same trouble, at least.
No, because they're the ones making it, right?
Yeah,
So
but America,
it all
we-
goes back to them.
In America, we need to look at it from a different perspective. All this stuff already exists, and especially if the anime industry is not doing so well over there, you've got to get the licenses and take the risk and go for the marketing and go crazy. Now's the time to do something just crazy. But anyway, things of the day. What do you got for me?
All right, I remember now. So, this video has Adam West outside of a cave, supposedly the Bat Cave, and he's selling all his Batman stuff.
You know,
And it's pretty funny.
I got a really, really big soft spot in my heart for Adam West because he, just like the Rickroll, the Rick Man,
Rick
gets it.
Astley.
He gets it. People who get it when the internet focuses its horrible, withering gaze upon them are my heroes.
Yeah, I mean, really, what it is, it's like there are some people, right, who become, they're famous for something, right, and sometimes someone is famous for something that is not so glamorous, like
Numa.
like Tiger Woods. He's famous for something glamorous. He's the best golfer probably ever, right? But Numa guy, he's famous, but it's not a glamorous thing to be famous for.
Or what's his name? I already forgot his name. The guy who was arrested 1,000
Star Wars kid is probably the extreme example of being famous for something and then not handling it properly, right? So when you see people like Rick Astley or Adam West, right? It's like they're famous for something. They know that what they're famous for is kind of right? It's not cool, right? But their attitude makes it awesome. It's like if you have the right attitude about it, then you're sort of laughing at yourself with everyone. It's like as opposed to being laughed at and being a turd.
Well, more importantly, they have both realized that they can make money off of it just by going with it. I mean,
Yeah, because,
look at what Adam West does. He voice acts himself on Family Guy in possibly the most self-deprecating way I've ever seen someone do that.
Yeah, and also, think about it in this way, right? Why is, Adam West or whatever, why is it humorous and entertaining? It's because you're laughing at the corniness, right? When you watch that Batman movie, you're laughing at the shark repellent, right? Now, if, Adam West was all like, depressed and unhappy and had this bad attitude about it, then even that corny movie would have a different, aspect of, it wouldn't be the same, right? For the viewer. So because he has that attitude, it actually enhances the entertainment value of the corny things that he's got the good attitude about. Like Rick Astley's song, if Rick Astley didn't get it and was sort of a jerk, then
well, there's three
Rick
ways to go.
rolling wouldn't work so well. It would depower the Rick
Would
roll.
it really though? Because Rick rolling went for a long time before Rick Astley found out.
I'll give you an example of depowering, right? Snakes on a Plane, right?
Well,
they totally had the wrong attitude about it. They went for commercialization, and they weren't taking it in jest. They were taking it like this serious sort of businessy thing. And with that wrong attitude, as soon as that movie came out, Snakes on a Plane was gone.
See, the thing
totally
is,
gone.
I don't know if that was so much the attitude. I think it's just that they actually thought they could make something funny, and they just didn't get it.
Well, I think that it wasn't the same bad attitude that, say, the Star Wars kid has, but it was a different bad attitude.
That's what I was about to say. There are three ways to go. There's the you get it and you go with it. There's the you don't get it and you're sad or angry about it. And then there's the
you make a big old Venn diagram here for us?
But the third one, the important one, the one that is sad but also kind of funny, the people who don't understand and think that they're having a resurgence of popularity. I mean, what if Rick Astley had been, man, my career is coming back, and he made a new album?
Yeah, see, there's some people that, I think the saddest, right, is the people who just don't even realize anything at all. Like, I don't know, sort of like the Carmel Dancing people, right? Or I don't know, the Loitema people. Do they know what's up?
I think they figured it out. I think someone actually showed it to them. I found there's an article talking about.
But do the Carmel Dancing people? They don't know.
They might. I don't know.
I don't know. But it's like, those kind of things where it's like, they have this opportunity to make a big move, right? But they don't make any move, and you wonder if they even know. Adam West knows.
So, YouTube poop is not funny, like by and large. Just don't even consider.
It has nothing to do with feces, as far as I know.
Don't even consider looking for YouTube poops trying to find a good one. But randomly, and by randomly, I mean because Wyatt told us to search for poop on YouTube.
Because he was bored.
Because he promised we would find something funny, which we did, which was not this. But this is actually a pretty funny YouTube poop, but really only if you know something about Pokemon. I don't know, it's just there were some jokes in this one.
I think the only really funny part was when the Pokédex was talking to him.
There were a couple other good bits, but if you're ever going to watch a YouTube poop or you wonder what a YouTube poop is, watch this one because it's funny enough to where you won't have wasted your 5 minutes, but at the same time, it shows you exactly what a YouTube poop is, and you'll never have to wonder, you'll never have to try to watch one, you'll never have to hurt yourself.
Yeah, this is all I have to say about YouTube poop is that I've known about them for a while, and I knew what they were, but I never really bothered because it's stupid.
You know what they're like? They're kind of like.
So I'm pretty sure this one that we think is fun, that we think is good, is really old. It probably is really.
Oh yeah,
really
most
old.
likely. But very few people I know about, care about, or watch YouTube poop.
Yeah,
but I feel like these are actually very similar to AMV Hell. They're like the internet 4chan kid who may or may not necessarily even know anything about anime, who is making the same kind of joke that an AMV Hell is making.
The only thing about these is that I look at them, right? And while it's not sort of well done in a production sense, it actually takes quite a bit of, labor to make something like this. I mean, it's not like, incredibly hard like making a good video is. But it's not like just trivial, like someone just clicks a few buttons and it comes out. Some work went into this poop. It was this effortful poop. Which is sort of, when you think about like what the person must have done in their video editor to make this, it's like, it took them like a few hours, possibly even more. It's like, hey, there's something new to that.
So, tonight we're going to talk about a somewhat old manga that I hope many of you have already read, and we're going to do a final thoughts at some point in the future, but if you have not read Monster by Naoki Urasawa.
It's just Naoki Urasawa. Like, we might as well just change Wednesday to Naoki Urasawa.
You realize right
Day.
now I'm reading 3 manga. I'm reading Monster, Pluto, and 20th Century Boys.
Well, the reason for this is that Monster has been coming out from Viz in the Signature series for a long time now. And the final volume, the 18th volume, was released in December. So once I saw that, I just said, you know what, fuck it, and I ordered all the volumes, right? And then in January, Pluto 1 and 20th Century Boys 1 came out, and every month in the year of 2009, at least one volume of one of those two is going to come out every month. So when you go to the comic book store to get Wednesday comics, look for, the Naoki Urasawa shelf, and you'll probably get like 3 or 4 volumes of each over there.
But Monster, well, pretty much everything he does that
Yes,
you're going to read.
this is the year of Naoki Urasawa.
If you want psychological thrillers or detective manga,
He is the master.
he's pretty much got this down.
He's the grand master.
And the cool thing is, I'd recommend, just for roller coaster syndrome, read Monster first and then read Pluto and 20th Century Boys, because I think you can really see him progressing as a manga artist.
Well, I mean, and they're older manga than Monster also, that we just don't have in the U.S. Like, we don't have the Master Keaton manga. We have the anime, though, right?
The anime is pretty badass, though.
We don't have, like, Yawara, Fashionable Judo Girl, which I always kind of wanted to see. That was like his first really big popular thing. There was like even I think a long running anime based on it too.
What about Dancing Policeman?
I never heard of that.
There's only one volume.
Didn't he
of it.
also make something like Pineapple Army?
Yes,
like
Pineapple
that?
Army.
Yeah, we don't have that either.
Jigoro.
Well, what's the thing he's making now?
Billy Bat.
Is that what he's making now?
It started in October 2008, and I don't know anything else about it.
Yeah, we're probably not going to get that until Pluto and 20th Century Boys are done. So
Which
think
is
about,
fine.
Yeah, but you see what's going on here. We're on a Naoki Urasawa delay. We're getting a delayed feed.
Yeah, which is probably fine because Monster in and of itself is great. But
oh yeah,
if you've seen the Monster anime, just kind of a forward here, a preface, you can read the manga, and you probably should read the manga because the manga is what it's based on. But the anime is literally just that they used the manga as storyboards and made the anime like frame for frame.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing is that, I never watched much of the anime. I think I watched an episode, 2 at the most, way back in the day, so I barely remember. But I do and back then, I wasn't as intelligent as I am now. I didn't know the name Naoki Urasawa. I didn't know anything. Right? All I knew was that there's some new anime called Monster. It's about doctors. That's what I knew. And I watched that, first episode or 2 back in the day, and apparently they weren't exciting enough for me to watch anymore back in the day.
Well, I was watching Monster as well while I was living in the mountains, bored out of my mind, and I got about 13 episodes in, and it just wasn't doing it for me.
Huh?
But then I pick up the manga, years later, and I just read through the first one, and I burned through about 3.5 to 4 of these things a day on the train.
Well, I think there's something about it where it's like it's so quick to read. I mean, manga is generally quick to read compared to, say, Stan Lee or just about comics from anywhere else. Manga is made to be a quick read. These read real fast. You can literally like the page is like on fire. I'm turning so fast, right? And it doesn't help, right, Urasawa, that he's doing a suspense thriller. So basically, imagine if you were watching like this incredibly suspenseful mystery movie and you could fast forward it without it getting all squealy. You could still get the full experience, but you can turn the pages real quick. It's like, oh my God, you're like turning the pages as fast as humanly possible.
This is the interesting part with Monster. We just have it all. We can just read it,
Yeah, because I bought every volume.
Or like Escaflowne did that with the cliffhanger at the end of every freaking episode.
Yeah, it's like, well, cliffhanger, gotta watch the next one. Oh, gotta watch the next one. You just keep watching them.
With Pluto and 20th Century Boys, I have to wait.
Because we don't have all the volumes at once.
Of course, I point out Ananth, because he hasn't read Monster yet, but he read all of 20th Century Boys because he read the first one and he couldn't deal with it, so he just
got scanslations.
He got the rest of it immediately.
I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read it as it comes out, and then when the last volume shows up, I'm not gonna read it. I'm gonna reread all the other volumes and then read the last one.
Ooh,
yeah, like that's my strategy.
That's a pretty good strategy.
Because see, with that strategy, right, because you don't really remember what you read.
Scott, you know what you're doing?
Ago.
You're doing to yourself a Gundam, where the 2 episodes before the final story arc are just the recap episode.
But the thing is, when it's an anime, I hate the recap because I marathon the anime.
Yep.
But if I didn't marathon the anime, the recap would be helpful.
Except in Gundam shows. Well, Gundam Seed at least. I love the recap because it was just counting how many times the names of different people who had died were yelled.
Miguel,
Rusty,
Miguel. You were never even on screen, Miguel.
Rusty died in what, episode 1?
Yeah.
No
you never even saw his face. You just saw him wearing a suit.
No.
I think they had a photograph of him later.
Yeah.
Like hanging in someone's locker.
Like, I would swear people yelled his name and didn't even know who he was.
So, Monster.
Monster this is the story. Obviously, no spoilers here. We're reviewing this to convince you to read it.
Yes.
Monster is the story of a doctor, a brilliant doctor from Japan who has moved to Germany
Pajamas.
He is dating the daughter of the director of a big hospital. He's a neurosurgeon. He's a rising star. He's like, everything is going right for him. He's like the biggest, baddest neurosurgeon ever. And the director of the hospital is kind of propping him up and pushing him forward. He's destined for great things. And one day,
he's got nepotism, but he's also got skills, and he's got everything's awesome. And he's also a really nice dude.
He's wealthy. He's got a beautiful wife. Everything's going great. And one day, he is going to operate on a man who came in, some poor Turkish immigrant who had an accident, but he is told by the hospital to operate on an important political figure instead.
Yeah, basically the mayor gets hurt, and the mayor's like brought into the hospital, so they say, oh, you go work on the mayor. He just came in. Oh, shit.
And
someone else will take care of the Turkish guy who you were scheduled to take care of.
And that doctor's not that good.
Yeah,
that other doctor.
Yeah, I mean, that other doctor's a really nice, great guy. He's a character, and he's in throughout the whole story, But, he is, the main character is the best doctor there is.
Well, the best neurosurgeon. Of course, he basically later in the manga is Blackjack.
Well, he was Blackjack from the beginning, right? Because the beginning of this story, this first volume or so, is sort of like this typical hospital drama story. And I see this particular hospital drama with the evil hospital administration. I see that in a lot of places. I see it in Blackjack. I see it in Ray, which was also sort of a Blackjack.
Ray is just Blackjack too.
Yeah, but it's not by Tezuka, right?
It's still Blackjack too.
I see it in pretty much any manga involving hospitals. I see sort of like Trauma Center a little bit, right? It's the same story of the administration of the hospital is evil, and the doctors who are awesome just want to save lives, and the evil business of the hospital, which is trying to run it as a business, is ruining it. And, this all comes from the fact that Tezuka himself went to medical school, became a doctor, and then was a manga artist instead of being a doctor because of evil hospital administration as he saw it.
And if anyone draws heavily from Tezuka, it is Urasawa. Like you read Monster, and especially
there's a reason that he's the one who's doing Pluto, right?
If you have read like most of Tezuka's work in English and you read Monster, you see scenes from Tezuka straight up, just kind of reimagined
characters, like Mr. Mustachio's in there.
Oh my God, Daddy Walrus.
You see, it's all it's like all that kind of stuff. It's just Tezuka all over the place. The Blackjack's coming in, everything's coming in.
But that's not the interesting thing about Monster. I mean, that in and of itself, that setup would make for a great manga series. But basically, what Urasawa does with Monster is pull a Hitchcock.
Oh, it's a total Hitchcock.
Well,
I guess we'll have to spoil the first volume.
No, to spoil Psycho. Because I hope you have all seen Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Psycho. But in Psycho, the story starts, if you recall, as a woman who has robbed all this money, and she's on the run, on the car. She stops at this motel, and it starts off like it's going to be this kind of robber, money, mystery kind of thing. The police are after her. And she stops at this hotel, and this nice man gives her a room, and she, goes into the room, and you're expecting this one kind of movie. And then the stabbings happen, and it's a completely different movie. Monster is the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's I expected reading Monster for it to be the same hospital drama story, from beginning to end, because it started off as like a hospital drama kind of thing. And the doctor is his main character. So it's going to be that awesome manga hospital drama, and that's what the Monster is.
But no, the story
that's not
of
what
Monster
is.
It sets up that kind of moral dilemma, and later Tenma, the doctor, he comes out of his surgery and he sees the wife of the Turkish person he didn't operate on, and he died, and she's crying, and he's really bothered by this, and you can see this kind of plot fomenting.
Yeah, because he realized that if he had operated on the Turkish guy, he would have lived, and that's who he was scheduled to operate on.
And the Turkish guy
and he saved the
first.
mayor instead. Yeah, and the Turkish guy came in first.
He's kind of disillusioned, but everyone's kind of telling him, oh, don't worry about it. That's the way the world is. Just deal with it. And then the same thing happens again, but this time there's a crazy murder, suicide, like something happens at this mansion. And a young boy is found shot through the head, but still breathing. And a young girl is found comatose. And everyone else in the family is dead. So he immediately, he's the neurosurgeon.
Basically they're siblings, and they're children of two important people who escaped from East Germany.
But they don't even know that right away. All Tenma knows is that this boy was shot in the head, but he's alive, and he thinks he can save him.
Mm-hmm.
So he does. He's about to operate.
Then a very important political person comes in, and he needs to operate on him instead.
And Tenma is he's gonna go along with it, but then he has this kind of internal crisis, and he decides, no, I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to save this boy. Damn the consequences. And he does. He saves this boy's life. The political figure dies, and he is now persona non gratis with everyone in the hospital.
Yup.
Basically, now his fiance, the daughter of the hospital, the director of the hospital, leaves him. The director passes him over. He's no longer the head of neurosurgery.
He doesn't get any promotions. He gets basically the stick. They work him to death. They give him like the worst hours. He has to work like all day and all night doing like the lowest end level surgeries.
Some other doctor now is dating his fiance.
Yeah. He basically gets the complete total shaft. And now he's hanging out with the other surgeon who's like, yeah, I got the shaft too. Welcome to my world. I like that guy. That's like one of my favorite characters, that other doctor.
I like him too. He's one. Well, we'll talk about why Urasawa is so great because, but suffice it to say, his side characters are brilliant.
Well, I mean, what he does all throughout Monster, right, is pretty much every volume or two, he brings in these brand new characters, right? It's like brand new. And usually when someone brings in a brand new character multi-volumes in, you're like, who the fuck is this? You know, you just want to see the characters you already love and see what happens to them.
Of course, a lot of people have done it well. Remember Trigun? You didn't give a shit about Brado at the beginning of the episode. You were crying your eyes out by
is the
end.
Brado master. He brings in Brados like every fucking volume.
And then kills
And within
them.
10 pages, you care about them just as much as you care about, Tenma. So you basically keeps adding more people to care about with occasional deaths, of course.
But what happens with Monster is that his life is falling apart. And he's in the room with this boy who he saved. And he basically says to the boy, I gave up everything to save your life.
Yeah, the boy's comatose.
Yes.
He's sort of just talking to himself, and he's, sort of having this soliloquy in the room of, the comatose boy.
But he's at peace. He's lost everything, but he feels like he did the right thing. He saved this boy's life. But at the same time, he wishes that this hadn't happened and that all the people who'd wronged him were dead or not around, or just, the anger of someone who has been wronged unduly. All of those people, well, not all of those people, but many of the people die mysteriously. And one thing leads to another, and then the boy and the girl disappear. And I'm being vague here because this is where it all takes off, but the story goes in a direction so unlike where it began and so out there and just so beyond what you would have expected. From this disappearance, Monster is just this powerful psychological thriller that keeps you on the edge of your seat at every single freaking panel all the way until the end.
Yeah, pretty much. And just constantly, like I said, you're lighting the pages on fire. And obviously, it goes away from the hospital, but Tenma is occasionally forced to blackjack it up here and there.
Tenma is just blackjack plus Master Keaton.
Yeah, it's pretty much he's Master Keaton with the blackjack skills and instead of the fighting skills. But actually, at one point, he goes to fighting, school and learns the fighting skills.
That's actually pretty good.
He
starts looking more and more like Master Keaton, too.
Well, I mean, Urasawa sort of does that thing where, his main characters all look very similar. They all look like Master Keaton.
Yeah, look at Sanctuary. You see the same thing.
The guy in 20th Century Boys looks a little bit like, he's a little different, but he's,
Well, plus there's the friend in both of them.
Right. So... But yeah, it's like all, Tenma goes on this journey, basically, of awesomeness and epicness. And you're not always following him directly, though. Sometimes you're sort of floating near him. Like, you'll be, like, following some other characters, and, like, Tenma will walk by, and it's like, oh, shit, it's that, oh, shit.
Pretty much, the way I will sell this to you is that, all this happens, the boy and his sister disappear, and a bunch of people die. Fast forward many, many years later, like it skips a big period of time, and then the plot begins.
Yep. So
the entire whole first setup is just the preface. It's like, here is what happened in the past, and now our feature presentation.
Mm-hmm. And that what happened in the past is volume 1, so it's 17 volumes of feature presentation.
Yes, and the quote from the beginning of the manga actually really sums it up best. You may recognize what it is from, but this might give you an idea of where this is going. And I saw the beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
Mm-hmm.
That's Revelations.
Yeah.
But it did.
What does it say on the back? Do you have the first volume over there?
No.
Because we can read the text on the back.
Actually, because I've been reading this so quickly, I have like 4 volumes of Monster in my car. I have another 3 in my desk at work because I'm just carrying them around and reading them everywhere. I have to make sure I have enough with me to get through a train ride. You realize I am like 3 volumes away from the end at this point.
Wow. Well, so on Amazon.com, actually, I checked right now. There's actually no discount on Monster whatsoever. So it would cost you about $180 to get all of it.
And you know what? It's definitely worth it.
Well, what I'm going to tell you to do is I'm looking at some other websites to try to find a lower price right now. Oh, I guess I can't find a lower price. I bought them from InStockTrades.com, but apparently I bought all of them and they're no longer in stock. So I got a discount over there. So
I guess this is one of those things where
I would maybe try to buy it, used on Amazon, try to find it at a convention.
Convention is probably your best bet. We'll find one of those, buy 4, get 5 free
this
deals.
isn't something that's going to be hard to find, because it was, it's a recent Viz release. The last volume came out in December, right? Like just a few months ago, right? So you can definitely find this at a convention or, Borders or whatever. Just, do something to get discount because $180 is a lot of monies. And, monies is tight. I paid, $5 per volume. So there's no reason you should pay 10.
But at least this isn't going to be a sanctuary. You're not going to have to scrounge for years to find the 1 or 2 volumes you're missing or anything.
No, I mean, and the only thing you might have to worry about is if it gets stupid popular, there might not be enough of them out there already, for everybody.
Of course, that might be good. Maybe we'll get a reprint.
No, maybe. I don't know.
So
plus, I'm pretty sure number 18 is still in print, right? I mean, at least many of them are probably still in print.
But what makes Monster or Urasawa stuff good primarily is just that his faces are great. While he uses this kind of cast of characters approach that Tezuka used and other people use, all of his side characters, every character is so absolutely distinctive and so unique. And
it's like the faces have a little bit of the stereotypical anime look. Like some people got a pointy chin or a big eye kind of thing, right? But they have these really human faces, most of the characters, and you can always recognize people, it's and a lot of them are really unique. Not everyone is a freaking a teenager or college student. He's got lots of old people and old ladies and old dudes and sort of weird looking people, tall, skinny people, short, fat people.
But even a completely throwaway, bartender at a bar who has 2 lines in 2 panels and that's it, will have character and be unique from any other bartender you see.
Yeah, and it's there's lots of characters that are they're side characters, and he'll make you care about them a little bit. They're sort of on the 3rd or 4th tier down from the main characters, but he'll still draw them all recognizably. There are characters that are only in the last volume, but they're there and they mean something. They're important. They take a part in the story, and he'll give them, he'll design them full on, and they're totally unique, and you remember them, and it's pretty awesome.
Also, I think part of why he's able to pull out so much suspense is that there's this cinematic timing to the way he draws panels, to where the panels are arranged and put together. They draw your eye along like you're watching a movie in the comic. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of good manga do that, but I think Urasawa is particularly good at it. And especially looking at Pluto or stuff after this, he's just getting better. And I think he's got a long way to go. I think he's getting better and better and better.
That's the key to comics, right? Above all else, right? The number one most important thing in comic art is the control of time, right? Because in a movie, or if you're making a movie, you don't really control time, right? I mean, you can have more frames per second, but people are watching action at a rate of 1 second per second, right? So, you can make it sort of seem long and drawn out by having someone watch an empty room for a minute or two and they'll get kind of bored. But in a comic, right, a person is turning the pages, right? And you might want them to turn the pages real quick in one part and slow in another part. And you have to, with your art, with the way you lay out the panels, with the way you move the eye around, with how many words, whenever you put a lot of words, in one place, someone's going to be stuck there for a while. When you put no words.
Or even if you don't, I think his brilliance is that I want to read it so fast because I'm desperately trying to see what's going to happen. But at the same time, you'll kind of you'll look at panels. There'll be a bunch of panels in a row, and you'll kind of pause on one or two at the appropriate moment. He draws you into this rhythm of reading to where even though, you get to the panel and on the next page there's going to be the big reveal, but you don't turn the page right away. You kind of build up your own anticipation, and I think he subconsciously causes you to do that just by the way he arranges panels and what he's showing you.
Well, that's what comics are. All good comics,
He
do
also
that.
does. Definitely, this is an Urasawa thing. He loves to have one party in a conversation not be known.
Oh yeah, that's
for
all
a
he
while.
always does.
You
that
always
one.
get the over the shoulder view, a little bit of the hair, and then the last panel before like the title, like every chapter.
Yep, he'll turn around and show you the other view, do the 180, and you'll see the person who was on the other side of the conversation. It's like,
Like every volume will begin with this kind of preface where it's always two characters having a conversation, and you don't know who the second one is, and then the last page that has the title of that volume will then show you who the person was talking to, and it's always like,
Also, sometimes what he'll do is if there's a character by themselves, it'll either give you what they're saying or what to themselves or what they're thinking or some sort of narration as the character is performing some actions. And then once it's sort of coming to a head, he'll draw and reveal like the secret thing about what the character was doing, like, oh snap, like someone will be looking for something and, like maybe trying to find a secret. And then he'll turn the page, bam, he hits you with the secret, just as if he was, showing you the other character in a conversation. Same technique.
Plus, I gotta say, well, the side characters are great, but I like all the main characters except Detective Sook.
Except Detective Sook?
He's just kind of lame.
My favorite guys are, well, number one, my favorite guy is...
Lunge.
Yeah.
Oh my God. He is just...
The thing with Lunge is like he starts out one way, and then he sort of gets crazy for a while, and then what they do with him is like totally not what you would expect that character to do.
It's hard to tell what he's doing because you can't get into his head more so than anyone else.
That's on purpose. He doesn't bring you into his head.
But it's interesting because the whole time you're wondering. There are a couple times where I thought he was on one side, and then he just does the exact opposite of what I expected.
Yeah, and they portray him as such like this fucked up, hard to understand guy. It's like. His kids and wife leave him and whatever, and it's like, and he just sort of doesn't have any sort of, emotional reaction whatsoever. And you can't figure out, like, well, is he upset and hiding it, or does he not care? You don't know. You can't tell. And, he's a crazy dude. And the other doctor, I already said I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I actually like the girl a lot.
Oh, she's bad at it. Well,
she's awesome.
I feel like he's better about this now, but at least in Monster... he seems to have this kind of a few faces he draws women with. Women are either sad, evil, or the main character.
Well, no, see that there was the girl who is the untrained doctor. She was there for like a little bit.
Oh man, she's awesome. I didn't see much of her.
Yeah,
yet.
she's like it's weird because like he actually bothers to develop her character a little bit and like gives her a whole chapter or two like to talk about her and whatever. But like I think she's in it for like a couple more panels and like she's not there that much and she doesn't matter that much, but he puts her in there, and it's that sort of character. It's like you bother to make a character, you fill them with so much life. And then they don't get a lot of screen time, and you just have so many of those, right? This quantity of really strong, life-filled characters just all over the place. It's like a menagerie of characters. It's like a zoo. It's pretty cool. I like it.
I don't really want to say too much more because you've really
We got to do some final thoughts when you're done.
You have all got to read Monster. This is an amazing manga.
I was going to say it would be monstrous, but I don't know.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.